I'm not perfect, God, neither are you. Tell these salty motherfuckers to tell the truth. Tell politicians to give up the rooms. Tell silent voters to stand up to the booth.
God, it's me. Can you hear my plea? Feeling like I'm lost in this world, can't you see? Demons creeping in, trying to take control of me. But I'm just trying to find the light, trying to break free. I'm not perfect, God, neither are you. But why you keep forgetting me? What did I do? Trying to have a convo, but you starting to preach. Feeling like I'm on a leash. Can't find no peace, find no peace. Living in hell, can't you hear my plea? I'm suffocating, can't you see? Why you let these false prophets roam free? While the well-run suffer, can't you see? I'm not perfect, God, neither are you. Why you keep targeting me? What did I do? Trying to have a convo, but you starting to preach. Feel like I'm on a leash, can't find no peace.
Hardest battles, strongest soldiers, greatest burden, broadest shoulders, pushing up just like these boulders. This conflict like it's water, so this mercy, take my chalice, seeking grace through all this malice. All of these salty motherfuckers could give out.
Politics and senators, they all the same.
Got me stuck in this endless game. But I won't give up,
won't play the role.
Gotta do what's
best for my soul.
I'm not perfect, God. Neither are you. Tell these salty motherfuckers to tell the truth. Tell these politicians to give up the room. Tell silent voters to stand up to the booth. Living wild but truthfully free. God keep on watching over me. Take my pleas and keep the receipts. I just want all of humanity.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. I want to talk about Gunfire, Ghost Bills, and Greedy Hands. The real state of Minnesota. But before we get into all that, I got independent music. And this morning I got Mac Turner, Love Exists. And also, happy birthday, Mac Turner. Happy 40th birthday. I know I've seen the multiple posts. Happy birthday, sir. And I hope you have a great one.
Where's Toby?
Where's we going with this? I don't know the vibe, but I just be noticing shit. I can't say it's love, I don't really know what it is. Sometimes I sit back and wonder if love exists. I only call you one because you know you a bitch. Not to be throwing a fit, but this shit be no defense, yeah. I only call you one because you know you a bitch. Not to be throwing a fit, but I think I'm over this shit, yeah. Hey. Feel like we been before. They say your actions louder than words. We'll go ahead and let it be known. Thank you for letting me know. I gave you my heart, I showed you my love. You threw the shit right on the floor. You was too busy driving the boat, and I was just staying afloat. But fuck it, I'm making it toe. On my mama, I'm letting you go. This what you wanted, so go be a hoe. And you don't need to sub me in post. Act like you know why I call you a bitch, huh? That never had to be what it was, but I guess it is what it is. Don't pull up when I'm doing it. And shit faker than you but a weed. Girl, fuck you and all of your friends. But how do your friends when you in the booth at the club that you paid to get in? I'm just curious into this. I'm trying to make it make sense. You too busy taking offense. What up, how they girl, you full of shit? I can't save you. You free falling, mini skirts all through the club, free balling, can't believe you threw my heart away. Showed you real love, but these hoes all the same, and I don't know why. You afraid of looking me in my eyes. It's my fault I couldn't see through your lies. Blame myself to all your flags, I was blind. Thought you were the one, never mind. Where's we going with this? I don't know the vibe, but I just be noticing shit. I can't say it's love, I don't really know what it is. Sometimes I sit back and wonder if love exists. I only call you one because you know you a bitch. Not to be throwing a fit, but this shit been no defense, yeah. I only call you one because you know you a bitch. Not to be throwing a fit, but I think I'm over this shit, yeah. I can't say you free falling. Then these skirts all through the cliff, free falling. Can't believe you threw my heart away. Showed you real love, but these souls honest. Know why? You afraid of looking me in my eyes. It's my fault I couldn't see through your lies. Myself to all your flags I was gone. You were the one, never mind. Where's we going with this? I don't know the vibe, but I just be noticing shit. I can't say it's love, I don't really know what it is. Sometimes I sit back and wonder if love exists. I only call you one because you know you a bitch. Not to be throwing a fit, but this shit been over the fence, yeah. I only call you one because you know you a bitch. Not to be throwing a fit, but I think I'm over this shit, yeah. Hey.
Mac Turner, Love Exists. Man, the first story I got, and to be honest, I'm kind of doing this different this morning. Last night we had a mass shooting in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and 3 people were dead and 2 people are shot. But that wasn't just the only violence in the Twin Cities last night. We had stabbings, we had other people shot, and it's like, when are people going to pay attention to what is going on with them? You know what I'm saying? It's like, when are we gonna pay attention? Because it's not just the Twin Cities; it's everywhere. And what you're seeing is going on in Minneapolis. They're only trying to fearmonger you, right? They're trying to, because I'm gonna tell you right now, we are a state that is in. They talk about a moral budget, but we are in a state of crisis. We are in a state of chaos, and that's something that they do not want to discuss. So I want to get into Blood on the Block, and listen to what happened overnight over in South Minneapolis.
As we come on the air, we're tracking breaking news out of Minneapolis right now.
In the last 3 hours, we've confirmed 3 people are dead, 2 others are injured after a targeted shooting. Take a look at your screen here. This happened around midnight on 25th Street East and Bloomington Avenue in the Midtown Phillips neighborhood. So let's get it right out to Michelle Beck. She's live at police headquarters right now. Michelle, what can you tell us?
Well, Jason, Alicia, we actually just drove by that crime scene about 30 minutes ago, and as of about 4:30, it is still a very active crime scene. Police around midnight declared 3 people dead on scene. 2 people we know right now are in the hospital, and of them, one of them is very seriously hurt. Take a look at your video. We were on scene for the heartbreaking moment when loved ones ran in tears to this crime scene. Minneapolis police say they first got here to the Phillips neighborhood around midnight. They say the shooting is likely targeted and gang-related. Officers don't have a suspect just yet, but the police chief says a lot of evidence, including surveillance cameras, points to what happened. Investigators, for one, are looking into a car that had some of the victims inside. The chief told us another victim was on the sidewalk.
Tonight, our city is grieving. After a relative period of peace, the likes of which had not been seen in at least 5 years, that peace has been shattered. And there are families that are suffering tonight, that are grieving. And this is an absolutely senseless tragedy.
And guys, get this, yet a 6th person was shot overnight in Minneapolis. We know that the chief said it's likely that that victim was hurt just 5 blocks away and about an hour after the shooting that I just told you about. And for now, the chief isn't connecting these 2 incidents, but he does consider them very suspicious. That 6th person who was shot is expected to be okay.
Man, I'm telling y'all, this is the thing of like, what does it take for Minnesotans to take what's going on as serious? Like, it's not just the Twin Cities issue, it's a Minnesota issue. And this is the thing of it is like, there's so many people that want to have a say what is going on in Minneapolis instead of being of asking what do they need. They just keep on opening up the checkbook. And I'm going to tell you what's crazy is like Minneapolis nonprofits, scams, waste, fraudulent, the foundations. And it's like, why should we, the people, have to suffer? I don't understand it. It's like, I don't get it. It's like, when will we as people actually see the problem? When will we see all these politicians? And I'm not just talking about Democrats, I'm talking about Republicans too, right? Because we are in a state of crisis. We are in a state of turmoil. And they don't care. Because I'm gonna tell you like this, they want to keep on with the same plan, with the same people. They don't want to hear other voices. They don't want to hear the voices of the unheard, of the disenfranchised. Because I will tell you like this, is that there was people in South Minneapolis that probably have been trying to get Jason Chavez, Andrea Jenkins, Chowdhury, council members. But were they listening? Were they actually they were doing town halls. They were, you know what I'm saying? They were doing various little things, but were you listening? Were you going out there and were you listening to the people? Or were you only going around because it's that type of year? It's that time of year. It's political season. Let's face it, it's political, because I will tell you right now, they are trying to distract you, people. They are trying to distract you. There is literally 2.5 weeks left in this session. And how many people are watching what's going on at the Senate? How many people are watching what's going on at the House? And are you making sure they're giving you a moral budget? Because how are we getting, this is the thing of it is, everybody says, oh, we just need unity. We just need unity. And it's like, wait, what do you mean we just need unity? Because we've asked for that. These things that are just coming out now, we have been said things that are going on. But nobody ever, this is the one thing that I will say is crazy as hell, right? Because a lot of individuals, like pastors like Jerry McAfee or Bobby Joe Champion, their followers, they will sit there and tell you that you're wrong, right? So the people that are coming out and supporting them are telling you that when you say, hey, I'm not saying that it's all, that there was a lot of people are doing wrong behind it, but there is bad actors. The same thing that Keith Ellison went up there and said on Monday to the Fraud and Oversight Policy Committee is that he meets constituents. Some are real and some are fake. Some are bad actors. It's the same way with these representatives. The only difference is y'all take the bad actors instead of the people up trying to make real change. Let's be honest. This is the whole thing about why we have such an issue. So I'm going to read this comment. There is the Metropolitan Urban Indian Directors Group who have an MOU with the city. As an Ojibwe woman from the neighborhood, I've been attempting to bring awareness to what lateral oppression is since 2017. I'd like to know what that MOU currently states. I love all people. I love truth. I never want to have community and nation to suffer by my truth and experience. Can we have a conversation? Thank you. Oh, yes, we definitely can. Yeah, I'll message you when I get off live today. I will message you because we definitely can have a conversation, because that needs to happen more in Minneapolis. There needs to be more individuals of breaking bread and extending that olive branch, because that's what it's going to take. It's going to take people from rural Minnesota that are northern Minnesota, southern Minnesota, central Minnesota, western Minnesota. It's going to take those truth seekers to eradicate the evilness was going on in Minneapolis and St. Paul, the Twin Cities. It's gonna take that unity. It's gonna take that unity. And I'm not saying that, and here's why I say that, right? Is I know that there's some DFLers, some Democrats, and some Republicans that are in office that don't want this, that don't want to keep on saying our taxpayer money, because some people are poor. Some people can't afford their taxes going up every year, their property taxes, sale taxes. We're adding fees. Some people can't afford that. And yet, what do? We don't listen to them. We haven't raised minimum wage. It's still $7.50 in most states. Even though a lot of states don't go by that. Why is it that the federal, that should be automatically $15 an hour? There shouldn't be nobody in America that makes less than $15 an hour. I don't care what you do. Because I will tell you right now, when it comes to our housing, you have to make $15 an hour, at least. At least, because I will tell you like this, that we have nonprofit leaders, right? Our CEOs, our directors that make hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they expect me to pay. So I make under the most I've ever made legally has been, I think, when I was at down in Red Wing, and I was at BIC. I worked there for like 6 months or 7 months or whatever. But I made all that money. It was like, I don't even remember. I think the most I made was like 36,000 or something. And that I considered that a lot of money until I look at what state legislators, and they're part-time, and they make $51,000, and they're supposed to control how I live, and have no experience, or don't even want to listen. Because I will tell you like this, is that like I said, I went to that town hall on Sunday. And I was saddened, because in there you had, I will say this, because I was raised to understand that my mom wasn't poor. You know, she was a single mom. You know what I'm saying? She wasn't poor, but she wasn't rich either. I had I would say, I'm not going to call them rich, stable grandparents. I had very stable grandparents. I had a very strong white grandpa. Very strong, will-minded, and told me that, because I will tell you like this, is that what a lot of people don't know is I had conversations with my grandpa Howard, and a lot of conversations of who am I? Because I will tell you right now, I was a confused ass young man, because what a lot of people don't know is, growing up in Minneapolis, you know, in the areas that there wasn't very many white people. I lived in an area that was, I mean, yes, we had diversity, but in the areas that I lived, it was very poor. We were very, you know, some people say nosy, or just wanted to go what was going on in their community. It wasn't about being nosy. You know, it was about, it takes a village. And I don't see that anymore, because I will tell you right now, every day I see something on social media that is talking about life experience. Life experience. They talk about the ghetto, the ghetto, but have no understanding of what that ghetto looks like. They may see it on the outside that it looks ugly to them, because that's how they made it look like. But to us, this is what, because I can tell you this, of being on 36th and Penn, there was kitty corner from that grocery store. There was a garden. There was a neighborhood garden. And I loved watching the people take care of that. That was to be honest, I feel like us and them on that corner were the two bright spots on 36th and Penn, because we were trying to brighten that area. We were trying to bring that self-sufficiency, trying to bring that we can do it ourselves. We don't need the government to do it. We don't need the government to turn our communities into something better, because that's not what they did in the past. The Black Panthers, you didn't hear them talk about, oh, we need the government to make our communities better, to make our neighborhoods. You didn't hear Black Wall Street, Rosewood. These people got up and did it by any means necessary. And then when they did that, there was people of the Caucasian persuasion that thought differently. And is that the Black people's fault? Because I will tell you like this, I just had a conversation with my mom over the weekend, and I was talking about the Francis family because, to be honest, my dad doesn't know much. I ask, occasionally, and if it wasn't for, my cousins who I've shared posts about Willie Francis, and some have actually, answered, and we became friends, and I'm still kind of distant, and that's because of me. That has nothing to do with them. That has to do with me and my life experience, right? And my experience with my family. But I'm starting to understand is that everybody's not alike. Everybody sees everything differently, and I want to know the Francis family more, way more. You know, I want to know about Hilda. I want to know about all the other family down there in Louisiana and Texas. I want to know about the Francises. I want to know about so much of our journey because I feel like everything that I know is on paper. You know what I'm saying? Because the conversations I was having with my uncle Otis and my aunt Franny, rest in peace, they're not here anymore. They're gone. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of it, what I have to go on now is historical facts because I shouldn't say facts, but yeah, I will say facts, but historical, um, obituaries or newspaper articles or, different things like that. I got to go through, National Archives. And I'm okay with that. I want to learn about my family. And I understand that it makes me mad when I see the 1619 project because a lot of us who are Black Americans came over here way before 1619. And some of us can prove it. Especially if they know where to look. And that's why it makes me mad when I shouldn't say make me mad, but gets me frustrated when I see Juneteenth in certain communities and like Red Wing. You talk about Juneteenth, but when you talk about Blackness in Red Wing and you talk about the experience, you have to talk about the lynching. You have to talk about the man hung down on the railroad tracks. You have to talk about Jeremiah Patterson. You have to talk about how the city has done them wrong because they were Black. How can you have a Juneteenth? That's the one part that I always got frustrated about Red Wing, right? Is when I came with my resolution proclaiming racism a public health crisis, it was in there was an apology, but it was a no meats on it kind of apology. It was like, oh, okay, we know we did this and we feel bad. It was like, okay, we'll try to do better. That was it. It wasn't about, oh, we're gonna educate people, we're gonna do because you can still to this day bring up different things that go on in Red Wing, especially when it comes to the past with, Jeremiah Patterson, or it's got to do with Julia B. Nelson. And especially if you're not a Democrat, if you're not, Leah Midgarden, if you're not Siri Everett, if you're not Mr. Kermit the Frog, if Stinson isn't your last name, they don't care about you. They don't care. That's the one thing, even when it comes to the Republicans in that area, because I will tell you like this is that for the relationship that we're supposed to be friends, me and Pam Altendorf, to what goes on in Red Wing, to the Black people, to a different skin color than you, I don't know. That's Negro. A lot of people say that's racism, right? But then they'll bring, well, I got Black friends. Well, that's Negrophobia. That's Negrophobia. Because I will tell you right now is that the Democrats want to bring all these fraudulent ass Black people to Red Wing. Like Keith Ellison will be there, I think it's Friday, because tomorrow's the 1st, the 2nd, the 3rd. I think it's maybe Saturday. They got some kind of little event or whatever. And it's like, I don't get that. What are the Republicans doing? That's the one thing is that we all talk shit about, Democrats and Republicans. But I would tell you like this is that I got to give the Republicans, even though they call themselves allies, right? But in my eyes, that's all lies. They're there. They say they're listening, but then you get that. Well, if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. So then it brings me back to these conversations, right? With these bills and with this legislation, because if you guys are only passing them and it makes dollars, so who does it make it sense to? Because it doesn't make sense to the community. It doesn't make sense to see all this waste and fraud. going to places that say it's for social justice or say they're for civil rights. And we're seeing it used fraudulently, wastefully. You know what I'm saying? It's like, come on, people. Come on, man. It's wild to me. I want to go in a little bit. So before I go into really the meat and potatoes of this episode, I want to go into Brian Hooper. And a lot of people maybe don't know his story or maybe don't know what's going on, with him. I will say it like this: is you need to learn people's story. You need to learn people's. I should say, I guess it's cases. I will say that because I think I can. That's what it turns out to be, right? Is people's situations and cases, and some people have legitimate evidence to show that they're wrongfully convicted, and there's others. You got to beat around the bush. You have to go through all jumps and hurdles to, finally find the truth. You know what I'm saying? And there's some still in Minnesota that say, "Oh, they're guilty." That's because that crime has never been solved. Just like with Tanisha Edwards or Jerry's flower shop clerk. Even though people were wrongfully convicted in those, will never rightfully convict the people that actually did it. And that's what's sad, is because we will never get the truth, because what pays more is for people to run with a narrative than the actual truth. So with that being said, I have Brian Hooper Sr.'s Long Walk to Freedom.
His family says he shouldn't be there. Thanks for joining us on Fox 9. I'm Randy Meyer.
And I'm Kelsey Carlson. Brian Hooper has spent nearly 3 decades in prison, convicted of murder in 1998. That case is now being reviewed for the first time. And Fox 9's Mary McGuire joining us in our newsroom. So, Mary, Hooper's family says he did not commit this crime.
And Kelsey, Brian Hooper was sentenced to life in prison in 1998 for the murder of a 77-year-old woman in Minneapolis. But he is adamant he did not commit this crime, and today he faced his first case review before the parole board.
We know that Brian is innocent. He's always maintained his innocence. And today they have an opportunity to do justice.
Outside the Minnesota Department of Corrections, a strong showing of support for Brian Hooper Sr., a man who spent more than 2 decades in prison for a crime he maintains he didn't commit.
Justice for Brian Hooper!
In 1998, investigators found the body of 77-year-old Ann Prosniak bound, gagged, and stuffed in a box in her Minneapolis apartment. Her body was left to decompose for weeks, and the apartment became a hotspot for drug use and prostitution. At the time, several witnesses claimed Hooper admitted to killing the woman, and he was later arrested, charged, and convicted for the crime. Since then, several witnesses have recanted their stories, but Hooper has remained behind bars. On Tuesday, the parole board held their initial review of Hooper's case, looking at his time in prison and hearing from his son about the impact he's had in his life.
Although he hasn't been there since I was 7 years old, he's been in prison. He has been my number one support system, and I wouldn't be the leader or the role model that I am if it wasn't for this man sitting next to me.
In the end, the board decided to move Hooper from Stillwater to a medium security prison and will review his case again when he's eligible for parole in 3 years.
That's the response that we wanted. I understand how the system works. I know that they're not going to do an immediate release, although they should, because he is innocent.
His daughter tells me this represents an important step towards her dad's freedom, but the fight isn't over.
We're going to be here every chance that we get to share his story, to say his name, and make sure that people know that this is unjust.
Now, Hooper's daughter also tells me that her dad's case is currently under review by Hennepin County's Conviction Integrity Unit, which investigates criminal convictions in the county where there is a plausible claim that an innocent person was convicted.
That's, the crazy part of it is that in the last 5 years, I don't know how many times that we've seen people who've been wrongfully convicted, but we've never seen the people that are deceased get justice. We're not out here. This is the one crazy part, right? Because years ago, back in the 90s, the 80s, the early 2000s, You know, even now we've done a lot of, and I'm gonna say a lot us, because we are, even though people want to say, well, I didn't vote, I didn't do this, I didn't do that, I wasn't a part of it. You sat by and did nothing. So what'd you do? You want to say nothing. You want to say nothing, which is basically what you did. Nothing. You didn't do a damn thing. You didn't do, that's the one crazy part, is because a lot of individuals are, especially on the GOP side, are more worried about sound bites and clout than actual reform and justice, reform and change. Because I will tell you like this, the session started in January. We are almost in May. And who have we been seen accountable? I will tell you, this is what's crazy to me, right? It's who's been accountable. We are honestly, so they talk about a moral budget. A moral budget. Isn't moral about right and wrong? Isn't it about right and wrong? Because what happened to Resolution 35? You gotta, it's going on right now, the rules and ethics. Oh, that's why, okay, that's why I had Twitter up. Damn. X, whatever you want to call it. Because that Robert shared that. Literally. Like today is the rules and ethics. Even though they said they didn't know when the next one was. They sure the fuck didn't yeah, that was it. Right. That's crazy. Trying to see where his post is there about it. Right here. So, why is Senate Resolution 35 not on the schedule? Why isn't it being talked about? We always talk about a moral budget. But how are we not doing what's right and wrong? Because we're doing way more wrong than we are doing right. And that's what people fail to understand, is that we are doing way more wrong and not much right. We point out the wrongs, but we continue to not fix those wrongs. We don't, because it's the one thing that that really bothers me, right? Is, you know, they talk about all this, you know, the deficit going on, you know, they want to change the homeschooling, you know, rules. If you're a felon, you can't do this, you can't do that, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, when are we going to protect the kids? When are we going to protect the babies? When are we going to make America's streets safe again? That's what I want to ask. When are we? Because I will tell you right now is that I want to show something that happened between Steve Drzowski and it's Senate File 1832. And I want you to watch this. It's 9 minutes long. And I want people to watch this and watch this interaction, because it's an amendment of making sure that nonprofits, we're not paying just the administration. We're not paying that the money that the state legislator gives out. And I'm talking about it's millions of dollars, that it hits the communities that it actually needs it. It doesn't just go to the people who are saying that they're fighting for them. It actually hits the streets. So listen to Steve Drzowski and Senate File 1832.
Are funded in this bill, in this omnibus bill.
Madam President, thank you, Senator Drzowski, for that question. Senator Drzowski, we have a number of nonprofits in the bill from all across this great state. The exact number I don't know, but there's a spreadsheet that's on your desk that you can certainly take a look through that spreadsheet and be able to identify and count the number of nonprofits that we are funding.
Senator Champion, can you tell us, amongst those many nonprofits in your bill that receive taxpayer money. What is the total amount of taxpayer dollars that your bill allocates to the unknown numbers of nonprofits?
It is. So in 26-27, it is roughly $56.6 million, and that includes both workforce development and general funds.
Thank you, Madam President. Senator Champion, are you familiar with the Office of the Legislative Auditor report, their evaluation from 2023 titled Oversight of State-Funded Grants to Nonprofit Organizations? And has your committee heard from the OLA about it in front of your committee? And then lastly, have you included anything in your bill to deal with the 5-alarm fire that they called out in their report, talking about systemic noncompliance with requirements in state agencies around nonprofit organization funding?
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you, Senator Jaskowski, for the question. Just for context, as I mentioned earlier, $56.6 million is money that is being allocated across our state, because we believe in making sure there's balance across our state. And this is also to make sure that Minnesotans across our state are receiving the services that they really deserve. Specifically to the senator's question, yes, we made sure that every member of our committee had that report, had any discussions about that report, but not only just having the report and discussions about the report, we have language in our bill specific to some of the concerns raised, and Senator Pratt has put forth some reporting language that we adopted that is also in the bill.
And, Senator Champion, thank you. I look forward to reading that language closer in this omnibus bill. I certainly have some ideas around it too, and maybe we can continue to improve what has been inserted in the bill. I'll take a look. Madam Chair, I would move the A93 amendment. Members, the A93 amendment deletes all of the nonprofit organization spending in the bill. Senator Champion, the chair of the committee, reported to us moments ago that that means $56.6 million for 26-27. We still don't know what the number is for 28 and 29, and we also don't know how many nonprofit organizations. I could go through on my amendment and add them up, Madam President, but there's 2 long pages of deletions in my amendment. And members, we have been running afield, we have been running off of the road, and we have been running into the ditch as we, as a legislature, have funded nonprofit organizations with the people's money. I mentioned the legislative audit report moments ago. This is something that we need to deal with inherently within the notion of the legislature writing a bill that gives money to a nonprofit organization that largely does not report back to the legislature about it, doesn't have the accountability necessary. As a matter of fact, Madam President, it's included in the legislative auditor's report under Chapter 4 titled Accountability that says systemic non-compliance amongst the nonprofit organizations in their reporting to state government and to legislators. We have placed ourselves in very precarious positions as a legislature, as the fiduciary of the people's money that comes here, which is our fundamental responsibility as a legislature. And members, it has placed individual members of this body in bad positions. We have before us now, as we know, an ethics complaint that stems out of funding of nonprofit organizations, where one of our members has authored not one but many. And Madam President, I brought up the other day in a separate resolution, I had 9 different nonprofit organizations in my hand that were authored by the same member, Madam President, and all 9 of them had large contributions, many of them maxed out contributions to that member's campaign committee. Now let that sink in, members. And members, staff is not done digging in this. They're continuing to dig, and there's more bills that are not included in my stack of 9 for this one particular member. And I know there are multiple bills for other members that have the same scenario. Members, we should not be sending money to nonprofit organizations. We should not be sending them cash money that has been proven by a legislative auditor that we are not building in accountability for.
Right.
We know that now. This was a 2023 report. This is not a responsible legislature, Madam President. If we have $56 million funding dozens of nonprofits in the face of the fact that we know that this reporting is not happening, and there is likely very large opportunities for fraud and abuse and corruption to be happening from this, because we have seen pieces of it. Senator Champion, there was a resolution I brought up the other day, and I outlined several bills that you had authored that I had questions about, that were very questionable in whether we had integrity about the use of those funds completely. These concerns stand, Madam President, and I think this amendment and the impetus behind it, which is the history of what we have experienced here as a legislature in the last several years, the history that the legislative auditor has pointed out, and the weakness of this idea of taking cash money in the form of a bill and giving cash money to an organization is a unique thing.
Right.
It's uniquely different than us forming out policy. And Senator Champion, I'll offer you this. I agree, there are nonprofits that do good things.
Right.
There are many nonprofits that do good things.
Right.
But the question is it the role of government to fund nonprofits?
Right.
Is it the role of government to give cash money to organizations which, in this case, it's been shown are not even being able to be accountable for the dollars we send them? Those are the questions. That's the impetus behind the amendment. President, members, I know what's going to happen here. This amendment is not going. The majority is not going to be supporting the amendment. I just urge this body to take seriousness with this issue.
Right.
There is $56.6 million in this bill
alone
being funded to organizations in a way and under a current system that our legislative auditor has said there are severe weaknesses in reporting and accountability. And we are doing it in the bill anyway. That, Madam President, is a huge glaring problem. And I look forward to members joining me in finding ways to end this practice in this legislature. We should not be doing this. Madam President, given that, I know what the outcome of this vote will be. I will withdraw the A93 amendment. Thank you, Madam President.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. I got a letter from the government the other day. I opened and read it. It said they were suckers.
I was a fiend before I became a teen. I melted microphones instead of cones of ice cream.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, that makes no sense to me, right? Because even with the next story that I have, it just shows like more corruption and fraud going on at the state level, and we're not doing anything about it. You know, that's the one crazy part to me, is like everybody is supposed to be doing this all gung-ho and, oh, we care about the kids. And what do you mean you care about the kids? Because I will tell you right now, is like all the programs that are supposed to be for people that are marginalized, for people that are disfranchised, like that is where the biggest scams that go on. Let's be honest. Violence interrupters, daycares, autism centers, transportation for this is the one crazy part, right? Because this next story, I wasn't even going to talk about this. Alpha News just dropped this morning, and it's crazy because they always get told, well, you're a conservative. They are conservative. They're Republican, whatever you want to call it, right? I don't agree with everything that Alpha News does. But I will tell you right now is that you get stories from them that you get from nowhere else. Because they don't want to, even they don't want to cover. They don't want to cover. And I will tell you right now that if Alpha News covered more things that were mattered to certain parts of communities, it'd be so much different. It'd be so much different. Right. That's the one crazy part is like we don't never get those kind of answers. We get those questions, but they're never answered. So I want to show you, and I want you to listen, is that Alpha News and Jenna Globe and Liz Collin did an article about the transportation contracts in Minneapolis. And I want you to listen and listen very closely because it's crazy as hell, some of these stories.
Exclusive. Records suggest district was invoiced millions over contract cap. Minneapolis schools won't explain. What started as a tip about a transportation company operating out of a Roseville parking lot led Alpha News to uncover potentially $3 million in overbilling inside Minneapolis public schools and deeper concerns about oversight in a state already drowning in fraud. Frontier Transportation Services, LLC, is operated by two men named Falmata Badasso and Abdurrahman Kadir, according to Secretary of State records. The company, which transports homeless and highly mobile HHM students, was authorized to receive, at most, $3.6 million from Minneapolis Public Schools, MPS, for services through 2027, contract and school board records reviewed by Alpha News show. But by early 2025, the district had already been billed well above that amount, according to the most recent contracts and invoices obtained by Alpha News through a data practices request. In total, all of the invoices provided by the district in response to the request add up to more than $7 million. The timing is hard to ignore. A new state law took effect in 2023 guaranteeing school districts 100% reimbursement for transportation costs tied to HHM students, according to Minneapolis Schools Voices. Oversight of vehicles used to transport students. Unlike traditional school buses, Frontier relies on Type 3 minivans to transport students, which are limited to a maximum of 10 passengers, including the driver. MPS admitted through a public data request that it does not have any copies of vehicle inventories provided by Frontier Transportation Services, despite the contract requiring a vehicle inventory of all vehicles planned to be used to provide service. Repeated attempts to seek answers met with silence. Since January 2025, Alpha News has made repeated attempts to obtain clarification on Frontier's invoices, starting with MPS Senior Financial Officer Ibrahima Diop and later including other district employees, and even Superintendent Dr. Lisa Sales-Adams. Each inquiry was either redirected or left unanswered. The outlet also made multiple attempts to contact Frontier Transportation Services owner Falmata Badasso, a self-described businessman and immigrant from East Africa, but received no reply. Reporters also visited Frontier's listed office building in Roseville, where the office appeared mostly vacant. An individual at the location said Badasso was not there. Records show that Badasso's company has been a contractor for Minneapolis Public Schools since 2022. The district initially capped Frontier's contract at $1.5 million, later raising it to $3 million in 2023. A 2024 document suggests the total may have reached $3.6 million, but no public records show it was ever authorized to go beyond that. Spike in HHM transportation drives cost increase. The lion's share of Frontier's billing appears tied to the transportation of HHM students, a designation in Minnesota for students who lack a fixed, regular, and adequate nighttime residence. This includes students staying with non-custodial relatives or friends due to housing instability. According to Minneapolis Schools Voices, about 900 students were receiving transportation by cab or van in December 2022. By the next school year, That number had climbed to nearly 1,300, a 40% increase in just 1 year. That rise translated into higher costs for the district and more money for its transportation vendors. In 2022 to 2023, the district spent $9.7 million on transportation for HHM students. That number was projected to reach $17 million in the 2024 to 2025 school year, the article reported. That represents a nearly 75% jump in the cost of transporting HHM students between 2022 and 2024. Fleet size and billing. State Patrol inspection records for 2024 show that 111 vans from Frontier's reported fleet passed inspection. During a visit to the office building listed as the company's address, Alpha News observed about a dozen minivans bearing Frontier transportation signage in the parking lot. Furthermore, a closer look into Frontier's invoices raised additional questions. For instance, in spring 2024, the district was billed $284,000 for a listed billing period of just 3 days. Mercedes and a trail of unpaid fines. Beyond the company's finances, public records offer additional insight into Badasso's personal financial background. A search of court records shows 20 parking violations under Badasso's name, 13 of which remain unpaid, totaling hundreds of dollars. His most recent citation says he was pulled over in a Mercedes-Benz. In a success story article published by the Minnesota Inclusive Growth Fund, Badasso highlights his transportation company's mission to serve a culturally diverse subset of students. There is often a disconnect between students, schools, and drivers when it comes to clear communication, reads a quote attributed to Badasso. For us, and especially for students of African descent who may have language or cultural barriers to overcome, it is about bridging this gap. While Badasso has not been charged with or accused of any crime or wrongdoing, other transportation companies in Minnesota have come under investigation in the past. Alpha News' previous reporting on the pit stop 66 investigation revealed how some operators billed for rides that never happened, all while collecting millions in taxpayer funds. The state's multi-agency probe has resulted in charges against at least 19 individuals so far. Over the course of several months, Alpha News made repeated attempts to obtain basic answers from both Minneapolis public schools and Frontier Transportation, but received none. If there's a simple explanation, no one seems willing to give it.
Wow. That's all I can say is wild, right? And it always has to do with underprivileged, marginalized communities. So it's like what I say again, what I said on Sunday, who can we trust? Right? Because I will tell you like this, you have people right now that, this is the part I don't understand, right? And maybe I do, is we all say we want transparency and truth in our politics and our school systems and our judicial system, but that's not what we see. And it makes me wonder of why aren't people calling that out? Why? I understand why they're not. It's because you never bite the hand that feeds you. But it's like, I don't understand why. We need individuals to call this out, because I will tell you right now, there's a mayor race in Minneapolis that the forerunners, there's all something wrong with. Mayor Frey, he lies his ass off. Omar Fati, he probably was attached to Feeding Our Future. And then you got Dwayne Davis, he a gay, I don't know what the hell he is, but he definitely ain't no pastor, because you can't be a gay pastor. I don't understand that. And there's too many individuals in America that condone that shit. You know what's crazy is, I was just telling Marcus this the other day, is like the way politics is in Minnesota, right? And especially in Minneapolis, if you expose enough about Jacob Frey and Omar Fati, and I believe that Alpha News, even, I got a little clip here I'm about to play from John Justice show. I really get kind of mad listening or whatever, but I kind of feel like if I don't listen to certain parts. I listen to Truth Hurts on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I listen to Reverend Tim Christopher. Damn, thank you, Laverne, for getting me in the quarantine podcast. I watch different shit. I watch different shit. No, I know. No, I don't think that is a different scam. That is a different scam. It was different. I'm not going to say that he was attached to that, but if you look at the political system in Minneapolis, period, one thing is that people are afraid to touch is the fraud and the waste. Because I'll tell you right now is that a lot of politicians, especially elected, it comes back to them. And that's one thing that we don't talk about. We don't talk about, and I will tell you right now, I don't care about who's making posts thanking Bobby Champion or saying that there was nothing found in the ethics committee. That's not true. That's not true, right? Now, if you're trying to tell me that paperwork is telling me lies, well, then where's the paperwork clearing their names? Because I don't see it. All I have is the paperwork that's exposing them. And then she didn't even say exposing because it's showing money that we're not receiving. Our community isn't receiving. They're not receiving it at all. And it's crazy because so many things go on and they always are able to point the finger somewhere else. This is the same thing that went on Monday. Why meet with constituents all the time? Some are bad actors and some have really bad problems. But why is it that you're meeting with the bad actors and then all these other things happen? Timothy Magruder, Pepe McKenzie, all these individuals. I don't get it. I do not get it. I do not get it. Because nobody wants to talk about Mayan Burrell's case. Nobody wants to talk about Marvin Haynes, Edgar Barrentos. How many other people have been wrongfully convicted in Minnesota and we haven't convicted the right people? We still have killers that walk among us. We have sexual predators that walk among us. And people don't say nothing. You know what's crazy is even when I was on 36th and Penn back in 2021, and we figured out that the corner apartment building was a DUC house, right, for sex offenders. And I'm like, wait, you have all these people in this area that the police don't even really like policing. And you have people over here. I'm like, no, that's fucking weird. That's crazy. That's crazy. So that just shows me that you don't want any type of success from that area because you don't regulate that area. You haven't for a very long time. And it's not just 36th and Penn. It's all over Minneapolis, south, north, wherever way you want to go. I want to play a little bit. So I'm planning to play about 20 minutes about there. I'm on a little bit. But so this is Jenna Globe, and she was on John. And so I know it's let's see. I'll probably go to I'll start right here, right? And I'll probably go to 30 on here. So listen to John Justice and Jenna Globe.
It's clear to me that happened. Our way of handling these is to find an appropriate way to send that money away. But for the people who were in that meeting, the answer is no.
Okay. And did you send the money back for people affiliated with Feeding Our Future that you did receive? All of it was returned?
Well, again, at this point, unless they were indicted or convicted, we may or may not know how closely or they were associated. So what I want to tell you is that nobody in that meeting sent us campaign donations, to my knowledge, and I have asked, okay? I don't know the names of those people, but I have asked, and I've been told no, nobody in that meeting donated to you. But there was I know one lawyer who was representing somebody connected to this situation, and I know that we sent that money back because that particular donor called me up angry about us sending their check back. So right. I know of that. I know about that one. If we have others that, we'll certainly deal Perfect. With them in the proper way.
If you could just follow up with me on this. Defendant number 36 and defendant number 69 did max out to you, and I don't see any record of those being returned. So if you could look into that, I would appreciate it.
We certainly would do that if we can keep. Let me just make notes of that. You say defendant 33?
Defendant 36 and defendant 69.
36, 69. Right. Yeah, Madam Chair, we certainly will follow up with that.
And same with the email if you ever received the email. Perfect.
But I would say, Madam Chair, I do not believe that defendant 36 and 69 were in that particular meeting.
Right. I don't believe they were in the meeting either. Because they're ancillarily tied to the investigation your office was involved in, I just would like to see what anything was done with that contribution. And I look forward also to a separate meeting with Ms. Washington about some of the charities, things that I'd like to follow up on. So thank you very much.
Madam Chair, may I just say...
And just to put a period on this and going through the Bill Glom piece that references the exchange you just heard between Representative Kristen Robbins and the Attorney General, Glon writes, to refresh Keith Ellison's memory, they documented an American experiment, all of the Feeding Our Future related donations between 2021 and 2022. Ellison received 6 maximum $2,500 donations, totaling $15,000. 4 of those donations were received together on December 20th of 2021, 9 days after the recorded meeting. One of those 4 donations was from a businessman named Mahat Hassan. He's believed to have been present at the December 11th, 2021 meeting with Ellison. Now, he's not been accused of any wrongdoing in the case. In either instance, it's not a major plot point. More importantly, what happened to the money? Now, Robbins asks specifically the representative for Ellison to follow up about the fates of the donations to who have been accused, the Liban Al-Shire and Gandhi Mohammed. These are 2 of the defendants in the Feeding Our Future case. Liban later pled guilty, and Gandhi has yet to go to trial in the case. Now, according to Ellison's campaign finance filings, Liban donated $2,500 in May 27th of 2022. His donation was returned on September 20th of that same year. On or about the date Liban's indictment was made public. Ellison reports only 3 other returned donations in 2022. One returned donation was to Sam Bankman-Fried, a convicted cryptocurrency fraudster. The other returned donations were to lawyers, one based in D.C. and one in Minneapolis. No other returns in subsequent years match anyone related to Feeding Our Future. So with the exception of Liban, Ellison appears to have kept the remaining $12,500. Now, Robbins said in a statement after the hearing, there are still unresolved questions about the Attorney General when he became aware of Feeding Our Future's misconduct, how vigorously he defended his clients, the state agencies, and whether he put undue pressure on agencies to back down. We need full transparency to the issue. Minnesotans' taxpayer dollars are protected, and that our state's top legal office is held to the highest standards of integrity. Further concerns were raised about the political contributions Ellison received from individuals later indicted in the scandal, and whether follow-up actions were taken after Ellison requested the names of businesses experiencing problems with those agencies. There are many individuals pointing to the fact that this may still be just the beginning of what ends up being uncovered with this. But even if it's not, as I mentioned before, the fact that Ellison is addressing all of these and trying to clear it up tells you all you need to know about his concern over what has been revealed and his attachment to these individuals regarding all of this fraud. It's where there's smoke, there's fire. And the way that he is acting, it's not typical of a DFLer here in the state of Minnesota, where usually they'll just go and ignore these issues as best they can. He certainly feels the need to go and clear this up, which I think lend some credibility to those that are speculating that this whole issue with Keith Ellison may not be over anytime soon. And again, hat tip to the work done over at Center of the American Experiment for exposing that audio and getting us this far in their reporting relating to Keith Ellison and his alleged ties to Feeding Our Future. And speaking of fantastic reporting, certainly doing better than the majority of the legacy media, Alpha News has this brand new breaking story we'll share with you here coming up in just a moment from Jenna Globe from Alpha News. Again, records suggesting a district was involved in millions over a contract cap. Minnesota schools will not explain. We'll get the details next with Jenna Globe here on Twin Cities News Talk. Now, you might recall that when we were covering on the show here on Twin Cities News Talk, John Justice broadcasting from the 651 Carpet Home of the Next Day Install Studios, when the investigations erupted, the FBI looking into the autism centers specifically, there was this talk at the time about transportation services relating to the autism centers and what was going on there attached to that particular fraud taking place. And since then, there's been a lot of sort of chatter about these different transportation services, which brings me to our guest here on Twin Cities News Talk from Alpha News. Alpha News has gone and done some investigative reporting and has a brand new story that's just been published over at alphanews.org. And joining us now to give us the details on this is Jenna Globe from Alpha News. Good morning, Jenna. How are we doing this morning?
Good morning, John. Another day, another story of fraud in Minnesota.
Yes.
Possible fraud, I should say.
Yeah,
alleged fraud.
Well, break this down for us. Again, what did you and others over at Alpha News discover in this exclusive reporting? What are the details here?
Yeah, Liz Collin and I investigated this after we received a tip about a transportation company operating out of a Roseville parking lot with minivans, they said, sitting idle for months at a time. And that led us to uncover a potentially $3 million in overbilling inside the Minneapolis public schools. This all centers around a transportation company called Frontier Transportation, operated by two men, Falmata Badasso and Abdurman Kadir. And the lion's share of these invoices center around the company transporting homeless and highly mobile students. This is a designation given to kids who move around a lot or don't have stable housing. And the timing is really hard to ignore in this because a new state law that was introduced by 4 Democrats in 2023 guaranteed districts receive a 100% reimbursement for costs tied to transporting these homeless and highly mobile students.
And so now what you've uncovered is, and we've seen this actually in a couple of other different situations with other entities here in the state, is this overbilling for the services that they were providing. So what did you guys again find here with this?
The contract that we could find, and the record keeping is not great, was between $3 to $3.6 million that they were approved to receive from the Minneapolis public schools through the year 2027. What we found is they have invoiced more than $7 million so far. And again, with the lion's share of that tied to these homeless and highly mobile students, that because of that new state law that took effect in 23, they get a 100% reimbursement.
So have you been reaching out? I assume you've been reaching out to the entities involved to try to find clarity on what's been transpiring here and what you guys have found. Have you heard back from anybody? Have you received any sort of clarification or justification into what you guys ended up discovering?
We have not. We have tried since January. We've made repeated attempts to obtain any kind of clarification on the invoices. We've reached out to Ibrahima Diop. He's the senior financial officer at Minneapolis Public Schools, even the superintendent, Dr. Sales Adams. Liz and I visited the Frontier Transportation offices in Roseville, tried to talk to the owners there. Surprised he wasn't there. Nobody has, if there is a simple explanation, nobody has wanted to provide that to us after 4 months of inquiries.
I'm looking at your story here, and it says, so the lion's share of Frontier's billing appears to be tied to the transportation of HHM students, a designation of the Minnesota students who lack, doing that thing with my fingers, fixed, regular, and adequate nighttime residence. This includes students staying with non-custodial relatives or friends due to housing instability. Now, according to the Minneapolis School Voice,
that's a lot of individuals, and it leaves the door open. When we don't have oversight, and this is a continue to be a problem in Minneapolis. This continues to be a problem in Minnesota. So when are we going to finally wake up and want to do something about taxpayer dollars being used fraudulently or wasted, or you have legislators giving benefits to their friends and family? Because that's what we've seen in Minnesota the last couple of years. And then over the history of Minneapolis, we've seen nothing but people that have been wrongfully convicted. We've seen police brutality. We've seen so much trauma and brutalization in the community, and we do nothing. We do nothing. And that's crazy as hell to me. I want to get into a little bit. Today is day 3 of the trial of the 3 officers who are accused of Tyre Nichols' death. And I wanted to spotlight this conversation that he had, because this is Desmond Mills. This is the officer that has pled guilty and agreed to be state's evidence, our state's witness. And I want to get into that. So here is Desmond Mills.
Retracing the night Tyre Nichols was beaten by 5 former police officers. Today, one of those officers testified against the 3 now on trial, Tadarius Bean, Justin Smith, and Demetrius Haley. Desmond Mills took the stand to tell what happened and what should have happened when they encountered Tyre Nichols. WREG's April Thompson is live at the Criminal Justice Center with day 2 of the trial. April, we also understand witness number 2 as well.
That's right, Alex. Desmond Mills, witness number 2, and his testimony has taken all of the day so far. They called him up. The prosecutors questioned him before court broke for lunch. After that, they came back, and then it was the defense's turn to cross-examine him, and he has been on the stand since this morning. The crux of Mills' testimony involved looking at the video of Tyre Nichols' first traffic stop and also the second encounter with the officers where he was punched, kicked, and hit with a baton. Desmond Mills admitted he used the baton on Tyre Nichols and says he lied about the use of force because he knew it was bad. He also described the elite Scorpion team he was a part of and how they were given praise for being so effective.
We were sent to areas where a lot of crime, violent crimes. They come from the top. They'll send us there, and it's like a zero tolerance policy. They really want it. They want the drugs, money, cars, and guns.
He said they wanted drugs, money, cars, and guns. That's what they were going after. Defense attorneys honed in on how the officers were trained as far as getting people into handcuffs. And when they tried to get Tyre Nichols into handcuffs, were they doing what they were trained and what they were taught? They also stressed how Mills' story changed as he reached a deal with prosecutors. Now, that deal includes a memorandum of understanding. He signed it with the state, admitting his conduct was improper, excessive, and criminal. In exchange for his guilty plea and telling the truth, prosecutors would recommend no more than 15 years in prison. But again, that is at the discretion of the judge. He can give more or less, the most being life in prison, lesser supervised release. Expect to hear more about that plea from the defense. And coming up at 5, more testimony from here at court with Desmond Mills, who is still on the stand. Reporting for your news leader in downtown Memphis, April Thompson, WREG.
That's crazy. I just want people to watch and to understand what's going on, right? Bless up, bless up. I want people to understand is that we're in a crisis. We're in a, I thought George Floyd, there was, we've seen Ahmaud Arbery. We've seen Breonna Taylor. And then there was George Floyd. But to me, this is something that is way bigger. You know, you still seeing protests go on in New York over, you know, Gaza and Palestine. You're seeing protests still go on about women rights, you know what I'm saying, about, you know, sports, girls sports and all this shit. So there's a lot of things that are going on in the world, and you have to pay attention because there's budget cuts. There's people are losing their jobs, people are losing their livelihoods. And that's where you're seeing, that's where people get called whistleblowers. You know what I'm saying? Because when you were a part of it, you weren't saying that shit. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's really wild to me. It's really wild to me. It's really, really wild. And also, you have Chris Scher, the killer of Patrick Loyola. He's on going on trial right now too. And you know, Diddy starts next week. It's like there's a lot of things going on in America, and people have to pay attention. You have to pay attention. Because if you don't, we are definitely going to get took. We are definitely going to get took. We are definitely going to get took. And I don't, to be honest, I don't know who the blame should be. I don't know who should be, actually it should be us, because we should be paying attention. We should be understanding what is going on in our community. Oh, you know what? The Senate is going on. I'm going to see what's going on over there real quick. In the Minneapolis Senate. Okay, here it is. They're live right now.
The Dibble bill actually got to that. Now, I understand the provision that you have a concern about is the enforcement side of it, and so be it. I think Senator Miller might perhaps have something that will probably make it a whole in the case of going forward. So with that, I mean, I could go on and on and on if you want, but you never ask a senator to give you a brief update of a bill that's that big. I mean, it's. Do you want to talk about rate methodology or the methodology of this Section 1 of the Social Security Act and how the Healthcare Administration is supposed
Senator
to?
Hoffman, you are right. I used the wrong word brief, and it never works. I apologize and concede the point, but I appreciate you giving us that opening.
Sure.
And perhaps we should invite Senator Rasmussen and Senator Dibble to join, since
sure.
they're both parties to this as well.
I just hope people are paying attention.
Welcome to the committee. Senator Rasmussen, you were the maker of the Rule 21 motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I appreciate the time to come to rules, and I also appreciate getting the opportunity to work with Senator Dibble ahead of time on the A1 amendment, which would address the concerns that brought me to bring the Rules 21 objection in Senate File 2972, which was included in an amendment in the Finance Committee. The A1, which I believe is posted, would remove the prohibited practices section, which is, I believe, within the Commerce jurisdiction. It would also remove Attorney General enforcement within judiciary, while still maintaining the disclosure provisions that are in Senate File 2972. And this is a bill that's related to transactions between for-profit and nonprofit skilled nursing facilities and assisted living facilities.
Thank you, Senator Rasmussen. Senator Dibble?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Likewise, I appreciate the opportunity to work and speak with Senator Rasmussen as well as Senator Klein and Senator Hoffman on the concerns in the bill. And I just want to thank Senator Hoffman for being a very able advocate on this matter and on behalf of those who reside in our nursing homes and assisted living facilities who are seeing the negative consequences of the takeover of for-profit and private equity firms of our nonprofit institutions. The problems have been pretty stark and pretty shocking and pretty concerning, and I think it is something we absolutely need to pay attention to as a state and a legislature. We didn't have the opportunity to do so in Commerce this year, and I hope we get back to this work next year in Commerce to talk about those things. I don't want to mischaracterize what remains in the bill is important, and I'm grateful to Senator Rasmussen to agreeing to the disclosure pieces, because those are important. It's important to know who exactly is purchasing these properties, et cetera. But just Madam Chair, with your indulgence, and so the public knows what we're eliminating, what I hope we get back to talking about, because the evidence is clear and stark, and even industry representatives are quoted, in publications and the like, saying that outcomes are poorer for people living in these facilities when for-profit entities purchase them, and that is objective, measurable. It's available through research. It's also available through anecdote. We hear a lot about what's been happening. The kinds of things that we are not going to be moving on is prohibiting the interference of professional judgment of healthcare professionals, making sure that people are provided equal treatment regardless of the source of payment, making sure that assets aren't being stripped from these facilities, that there's no self-dealing, making sure that there are no practices that result in an adverse impact on health, safety, and well-being and quality of care of these residents, making sure that, in fact, an appropriate amount of resources that are being brought to operate these facilities is being spent on those facilities, and they're not driving, the profits to an extent that's disproportional or inordinate, not jacking up the price and cost of living beyond the consumer price index, allowing for the the reduction in the maintenance or deterioration on the infrastructure, et cetera. So, Madam Chair, I just wanted to put that out there. That's what I'll probably bring this up on the floor as well. That being said, I look forward to more conversation, more debate. It's a very important subject, and I think we will take what we call the proverbial incremental step forward on an area that's really important to address. Thank you. I support the amendment.
Thank you, Senators Rasmussen and Dibble. Members, do you have questions for either of them before we go to the amendment? Seeing no questions, Senator Miller.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move the A1 amendment in the spirit of compromise and continued discussion amongst the members that have been working on this. I'm happy to briefly explain the amendment. Otherwise, I think Senator Rasmussen could probably do a better job than me or Senator Dibble explaining the amendment.
Thank you, Senator Miller. Senator Miller moves the A1 amendment. I'm looking to see who would like to speak to the amendment.
Madam Chair, it simply takes out those two sections that Senator Rasmussen described.
Senator Hoffman.
I'm looking at the chief author, the guy who's done all the work for many years. And actually, the work that Senator Dill has done goes back beyond even 10 years, Madam Chair. And so anytime you can have a consensus or an agreement to move something forward, there you go.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Hoffman. We have before us the A1 amendment. Members, do you have questions? Seeing no questions, all those in favor of the A1 amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed say no.
No.
And that motion is adopted.
Damn, no.
We have before us, are there other questions? Okay. Senator Miller. Senator Miller moves that the recommendation from the report from the Committee on Finance be amended, that the recommendation being the bill being amended, and when so amended, the bill do pass. And Lexi, would you like to explain that? Because that's a lot of ifs.
It is sort of a strange motion, Madam Chair, so I can explain that. So the committee report is before the committee today, so we are amending the committee report to do something else. So we're amending the committee report to finance to incorporate this amendment. So the effect of that motion will amend the committee report to finance to incorporate this amendment, which is, I believe, what you would like to do.
Senator Miller.
Madam Chair, that is exactly my intention.
I'm glad you're so precise so that I don't have to read it again. Senator Rule makes no, I can't speak. The exact motion. Are there questions? Seeing no questions, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
And those opposed say no.
Right?
And that is adopted. And it is on its way. And with that, members, that concludes our agenda. Are there any questions or comments?
There we go.
Madam Chair.
Senator Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just want to update on Senator Drazkowski's
Okay, there we go.
35 regarding
Right.
vacating the president seat
There we go.
during this ethics hearing. Just wondering when we're going to be able to bring that up on the agenda for the Rules Committee.
Thank you, Senator Johnson, for raising that. Of course, that resolution, unfortunate as it was, resides with the Rules Committee, and for the time being, I don't have plans to bring it up. There is an ethics matter that, requires attention and resolution, and I think it would be inappropriate at this point to bring that up. So for now, it's just going to hang out here.
Wow.
Madam Chair, do we anticipate further rules hearings going forward? And when might that be?
Thank you, Leader Johnson. And yes, given the time of the year and the work that we're doing, while I don't have anything scheduled right now, I would anticipate there will be further rules hearings.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Leader Johnson. With that, this meeting is adjourned.
So even when it comes to, so I hope you were hearing that, Robert, if you were listening. They were talking about Drazkowski's resolution. Yes, there was a rules committee today, but that's been pushed off to another day. The ethics complaint hearing is coming up on Monday. I won't be live. I'm going to be taking a little break. I'm going to be revamping the Urban Conservative. So I'm going to be taking off Monday and Tuesday of next week. And also I got doctor's appointments or whatever. So, but I want to revamp the Urban Conservative a little bit, especially my podcast. I want to make it more interactive with the community, with, the viewers, with the people. So I don't want it to be just me speaking. I want it to be all different type of experiences, because I want to talk to people, I'm going to reach out to some politicians in, Pennsylvania, New York, Texas, Atlanta. I want to talk to people with different experiences, because what I'm starting to notice is that just because I'm Black, oh yeah, yeah, I just figured that's how it was going to go, right? And it's wild. Because to be honest, I sit here, and this is why I want to talk to other individuals, that especially in red states, because I live in a blue state, so I complain about Democrats all the time. So I want to hear somebody that talks about, and I talk about Republicans, but I want to talk to somebody that majorly talks about Republicans and that his own party doesn't do anything. You know what I'm saying? And I'm hoping to see that, individuals open their eyes of when they see that interaction, because I will tell you right now, if you go on to TikTok, if you go on to Twitter Spaces, these conversations are happening. I can't even go a day without seeing Carmelo Anthony, the track meet situation. I don't even want to speak on that, but that goes on daily on TikTok, Twitter Spaces. There's so much fear mongering, and to get people scared about a race war, or to get people fear mongered into, oh, they're going to do this to you, they're going to do that to you. Listen, people need to go do their own research, and don't listen to every headline. Don't listen to every article, because I will tell you right now, is there is more misinformation than ever. So please, because here's the thing of it is, I see people that I think at least something of them, and they share information that's a lie. Just like when Kendrick Lamar came to Minneapolis and supposedly gave this girl 3 wishes or a wish, I don't fucking know. It's a lie. Like, come on, people. Like we fall for so much bullshit, and it's ridiculous. I don't understand it, to be honest. And maybe I'm not supposed to, but it's wild to me at least. It's yeah, I don't even know what to say at the time anymore. To be honest, I don't even. It's fucked up. Um, it's bogus that we as individuals like want to see something going on, and the first thing that we want to do is pick up a cell phone so we can get our 15 minutes. I used to be, you know what the crazy thing of it is? I used to be like that. Don't think that I wasn't like that. Because when I first got into this movement, I was all about me, me, me. And maybe that's why today I'm so fucked up about different shit. Is because of the fact of I've seen so much, and then my integrity and morals is way different. I don't want to be paid. That's the whole thing of it is, right? People think that I want to be paid to do the things that I do in the community. No, I understand that it needs to be funded, but I don't want the government to sit here and pay for things that it's not doing. I'm going to be honest. I don't want to sit here and talking about I'm putting people in homelessness and it's still going at an all-time high. I don't want to do that. That's one thing that I do not want to do is sit here and lie to the people. I don't want to sit here and say that, oh, violence is going down and violence is doing that. And it's not. It's not doing that. It's not going down. You know what I'm saying? It's not going anywhere that it's not being erased. It's not being eradicated. We're not defunding the police because we're actually funding them more. If you look at the omnibus bills, I mean, Walz just wants to give them $4 million more. So when are we going to wake up? When are we going to wake up and smell the coffee? And I don't mean to be honest, I don't know. Because I know for me personally, I'm getting mad. I'll say this, I shouldn't say mad, frustrated. Because I see more people that look like me that say they want change. But you want the only change that they'll fund. Unless they're funding it, you don't think that you'll get it. So you call yourself a self-made man. Or you call yourself this. No, I call you a goofy ass nigga, a coward ass nigga. Because you're more comfortable with being paid than stepping into that fire. And I'm gonna be honest with that. You are more worried about them taking your pay cut, your paycheck, than about the community. So today we talked about blood on the block. There was a mass shooting overnight over in South Minneapolis. 3 people are dead on site on the scene. 2 were injured. And also you've seen that they talked about another person being shot in the face. We talked about the caged man. We talked about the Brian Hooper Senior Long Walk to Freedom. The convicted murderer in 1998 slaying had his first parole hearing. We talked about dirty politics, Senate games and disappearing resolutions. We talked about who's getting paid, $57 million for who exactly. We also talked about Desmond Mill, who testified at the trial of the death of Tyreek Nichols. And we also talked about how records suggest that district was invoiced millions over contract cap. Minneapolis schools won't explain. So with that being said, I hope everybody has a great day. Enjoy your Wednesday. I'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. And with that being said, win or fail, freedom or jail, heaven or hell, wish me well, and y'all have a great day. And here is Mac Turner, Can't Bring Me Down. Deuces. Peace out.
Yeah, hello to my brothers and all of my sisters. I hope that you're listening. This is for everyone, just for the moment. Promise that we could be siblings. Love yourself, don't go out loving this world got no sympathy. You only hurting yourself when you focus on negative energy, yeah. What about friends? They say they love you, but just to be technical, nobody knows. Yeah, nobody knows, yeah. Or maybe you're selfish of me to be mad that you ain't in my shows. Cause you got a life of your own, stretch it on blast. This morning I woke up with a smile on my face, yeah. Can't change last night, so today I'll have a good day. Straight to the light, can't let the shade get in my way. Even when it's tough, I'ma have the same look on my face. Saying you can't bring me down, cause I've been way down. Yeah, I've been way down. I'm on the way out. You can't bring me down, cause I've been way down. Yeah, I've been way down. I'm on the way out. You can't bring me down, cause I've been way down. Yeah, cause I've been way out. Yeah, cause I've been way down. Yeah, look. Hickory dickory, tick-tock, every second is history. Out, she figured me. She said that I was that special fish in the sea. Are you from Tennessee? When I look around, you're the only Tennessee. That's how it sound. She just a shooter who's taking a shot like it's him. But my life a mystery, and I might put you through misery. Don't think you're ready for that. She said I'm missing. Don't you be making decisions for me. I ain't struggling mentally. Hollering, I know what I'm in for. You don't because it's out the window. But shawty, I still take your info. You just can't have me greeting your kinfolks for real. My foot is placed down, cause I don't need no extra fakers in my face now. And me and Riley, we been rocking since the playground. I ran from G, they got my back, I'm feeling great. So no, you can't bring me down, cause I've been way down.